Chapter 32. Fu-jun slays the rat. The poem reads, human life is pitiful, manipulated by ghosts and gods, upside down and confused. Just as fame leads them away, profit drives them on. Boats are towed, horses are whipped. Who can escape fate? Look closely at the daily dust and smoke. Even the cunning and treacherous, they stubbornly cling to life in the depths of the fire pit. They kill for wealth and status, take poison hopping for immortality. Only when bones decay and bloodstains remain do they realize their sins. How many can transcend worldly affairs and be ahead of the curve? Right tune, unforgettable feelings. As the saying goes, people find it hard to escape when faced with profit, and the heart is hardest when greed strikes. Don't even mention the vegetable sellers and misers in the marketplace who are happy and cherish money. Even monks and Taoists, with their prayer beads in hand and chanting the yellow court classic, outwardly respectful but inwardly greedy, only want other people's wealth. As for scholars, they are especially treacherous. You, who studied diligently by the window and understood principles, entered officialdom, and upon receiving the initial honor of a minor official appointment, sought to strip even the bark from the trees in the local area to take home, disregarding the people's hard-earned wealth and forgetting all propriety, righteousness, and shame. Even on your deathbed, you left instructions for your son to conduct a simple funeral, without mourning or rites, preferring to leave 1,000 or 10,000 things for your children and grandchildren to squander later, and for your wives and concubines to be given away to others. Therefore, you incurred the wrath of heaven and the resentment of the people, and the karmic retribution in the underworld has been clearly evident. You even looked upon others and forgot yourself. Only when a knife was at your throat and a ghost came to take your life did you relinquish this greed. How can you be like a great hero, regarding wealth and fame as worthless as worn-out shoes? As for Emperor Yang, he had spent the night in the Bailin courtyard with Lady Xia and Zhu Yer, enjoying themselves immensely. The next morning, thanks to Empress Zio's graciousness and attentive service during the night, he quickly dressed and boarded his carriage to return to the palace. Upon arriving at the palace gate, he saw his ministers waiting for him. Emperor Yang sat in the side hall and asked, "You all discussed the Guangling River, but I wonder if you have reached a conclusion." Yuan Shu replied, "We and the ministers of the Ministry of Works and the River Management Department have carefully investigated, and there is no passable route. However, the Grand Counselor Zio Hujing said that there is a passable river, so we have come here to meet your majesty." It turned out that Zio Hujing was Empress Zio's younger brother, the emperor's brother-in-law, and also held the position of Grand Counselor. Upon hearing this, Emperor Yang asked Zio Hujing with delight, "What road do you have that leads directly to Guangling?" Hujing replied, "There is an old river route northwest of Daliang. During the Qin dynasty, General Wang Li once dug here to divert the waters of Mengjin to flood Daliang, but it has been blocked for many years. If we can gather a large number of laborers to start from Daliang and dredge the river again through Heian, Chenliu, Yangqiu, Ningling, Suiyang, and other places, diverting the waters of Mengjin eastward to connect with the Hui River, it would only take 1,000 laborers. It's a short journey, and you'll reach Guangling. I've also heard Zheng Chunchen report that Suiyang possesses the aura of an emperor. Now, if the canal is to be dug, it must pass through Suiyang, which would surely sever that aura. Once completed, this canal will be neither dangerous nor far, and it will also eliminate future troubles. This is my humble opinion. I wonder what your majesty's opinion is." Emperor Yang was delighted upon hearing this and said, "Excellent discussion. Only someone of your wisdom and insight could have conceived of this." He then issued an edict appointing Ma Xiumu, the Grand General of the Northern Expedition, as the Protector General of the canal construction. He then addressed his ministers, saying, "The journey is long and the project is vast. It would be best to have someone else assist in managing it. At that time, Yuan Shu, suspecting Li Yuan of killing his son Huiji, wanted to strip him of his military power and find an opportunity to pry open the canal. He seized the opportunity to report, "Li Yuan, the governor of Taiyuan, is quite capable. Your Majesty could have him assist in managing the project, which would make it easier to complete." Emperor Yang, upon hearing this, immediately appointed Li Yuan, the governor of Taiyuan, as the deputy commissioner of the canal construction. Construction began in Dalian, extending from the Suiyang area all the way to the Huai River. The emperor ordered all laborers from the empire between the ages of 15 and 50 to participate in the work. Anyone who concealed their labor would have their entire family executed. Once the imperial edict was issued, who dared to offer any advice? The relevant government office immediately sent a document urging Ma Xiumu and Li Yuan to assume their posts. It turned out that Ma Xiumu was a cruel and greedy man. Upon hearing of his promotion to Protector General of Kaith, he was overjoyed and immediately went to take up the post. At that time, Chai Shao and his wife were in Hu County. They learned of the imperial decree and knew that this appointment was a scheme by Yuan Shu, who had transferred his father-in-law away from Taiyuan to find a way to harm him. Li said to her husband, "This appointment will not only bring disaster but also incite public resentment." She hurriedly sent someone to inform her father, telling him to feign illness. At the same time, she told her husband to take more gold and jewels to the capital, Dongjing, to bribe officials and replace him with another person, so that there would be no trouble. Chai Shao went to Dongjing and bribed Liang Gong Zioju, the younger brother of Empress Zio, and Qianyu Yuan Zio, a courtier of the Sui emperor, who frequented the palace day and night as an inside agent. He also bribed Zhang Heng. Zhang Heng had previously been rumored to be harming Tang Gong, but this was only because of the crown prince. He had no real enmity with Tang Gong. Moreover, he was a petty man, and seeing the money, he let it go. When Tang Gong's illness was reported, the left guard general Linghu De was reassigned, and Tang Gong was ordered to continue recuperating in Taiyuan. These two officials received the imperial edict, stipulating a depth of 15 zhang, approximately 15 meters, and a width of 40 bu, approximately 10 meters. A total of 3.6 million laborers were mobilized from Henan and Huaibei. For every 5 families, one elderly person, child, or woman was assigned to manage cooking and supplies, adding another 720,000 laborers. An additional 50,000 elite cavalry from Henan, Shandong, and Huaibei were dispatched to supervise the project. Regardless of the busy farming season, they dug into every mountain base and rocky foot, excavating everything. Graves and residences were all excavated. The laborers suffered immensely. At that time, a group of laborers arrived at a certain spot and suddenly saw a roof ridge faintly visible below. Following the ridge, the laborers slowly dug down and found a main hall, about 3 to 5 rooms in size. It was surrounded by white stone, with 2 stone doors, tightly closed and unable to be opened. The laborers assumed there were gold and silver treasures inside, so they all grabbed their shovels and spades and began digging towards the stone doors. To their surprise, the door seemed cast in iron. No matter how hard they struck it, they couldn't budge it an inch. After working for half a day, the men, fearing they might cause trouble, had no choice but to inform the team leader. The team leader informed Ma Xiumu, who, along with Linghu De, came to investigate. The men all said, "Digging and chiseling are useless." Linghu De said, "This tomb is not the mausoleum of an ancient emperor, but rather the burial site of a celestial being. How can it be opened with a chisel? We must offer proper rites, burn incense, and proclaim the emperor's decree in supplication. Perhaps then it can be opened." Ma Xiumu had no choice but to order his men to set up an incense table, and he and Linghu De donned their official robes and read the decree. Before the prayers were finished, a cold wind suddenly swept up in front of the incense table, and with a loud bang, the two stone doors gently swung open. Ma Xiumu and the others went inside and saw hundreds of lacquered lamps, brightly lit as day. In the center was a stone box, 4 or 5 feet long, covered with finely carved patterns. Ma Xiumu felt a little afraid and dared not open it easily. They went to the next level, which was a small round hole with straight walls, where a stone coffin was placed. Ma Xiumu and Linghuda bowed again and asked someone to lift the lid to take a closer look. Inside, they saw a person lying supine, with a ruddy complexion as if not dead, and a body full of plump, jade-like muscles. A head of black hair covered the head, face, and abdomen, down to the feet, and then spiraled back to the middle of the spine. The fingers and nails on the hands were over a foot long. Ma Xiumu judged that it was the appearance of an enlightened immortal and dared not disturb it easily, so he asked his men to close the coffin again. They opened the front stone box and found nothing else inside, only a stone slab about 3 feet long, on which many tadpole-shaped characters were written. None of these people could be identified. Fortunately, an old man over 100 years old who had cultivated his spiritual nature in the mountains copied it down. The text read, "I am a great golden immortal, dead for 1,000 years. When the 1,000 years were complete, a flowing spring appeared beneath my back. I met Ma Xiumu, who buried me on the plateau. My hair grew to the Nuan Palace, and I waited another 1,000 years before ascending to the Tashida heaven." Ma Xiumu was astonished to see even his name written on it, and finally believed in the wondrous workings of the immortals, possessing divine power. He discussed with Linghuda. They would choose a high and fertile place to rebury him with great ceremony. The present-day Dafosi temple is his remains. Later, they dug to Chenliu. While the laborers were digging, suddenly dark clouds appeared, a fierce wind and torrential rain, and hailstones pelted down like a storm. The laborers stumbled and fell, retreating in fear. Ma Xiumu, not believing it, came to see for himself, and was also thoroughly pelted by the wind, rain, and hailstones. The local elders were summoned for detailed inquiry, and they said that Zhang Liang of the Han dynasty was the local deity, extremely efficacious. Ma Xiumu, upon hearing this, knew that Zhang Liang's power was manifest and that he wished to protect the borders, so he submitted a memorial to the court. Emperor Yang immediately ordered the Hanlin Academy to compose a prayer, using national treasures, and dispatched Niu Hong, the Minister of Ceremonies, with a pair of white jade discs to Chenliu to offer sacrifices, thus opening the gates. Ding Fu then passed through Chenliu. Indeed. Do not say that the living and the dead are separated. The spirits have their own power. These laborers, after several days of arduous work, arrived at a large forest in the Yongqiu area. There was a tomb with a shrine on top, blocking the road for digging the canal. The captain reported this, and Ma Xiumu came to investigate personally. He noticed the surrounding guards and sensed a certain spiritual energy. He ordered his men to summon the villagers to inquire. The villagers replied, "This is the tomb of an ancient sage. We do not know his name. It is said to be the tomb of a hermit." Ma Xiumu, seeing it was a hermit's tomb, did not take it seriously and ordered the laborers to dig it open. The laborers hurriedly began, some dismantling the shrine, others digging the tomb. However, there were 2 or 3 layers of stone slabs underneath. When they reached the 3rd layer, suddenly there was a loud crash, like a mountain collapsing and the earth splitting open, and people and stone slabs fell down. They were quickly rescued, but many were injured or killed. Countless laborers were lost. Ma Xiumu was startled and immediately sent his servants down to investigate. After a long search, they found the cave to be 2 or 3 zhang deep, with another cave at the bottom, its surface glowing brightly with lights, and faintly audible sounds of bells and drums. It looked like a dried-up sea, its depths unfathomable. The men dared not go down and had to return to the surface. Linghuda pondered for a long time and said, We must send this man down to find out the details. Ma Xiumu hurriedly asked who it was, and Ling Huda replied, "This man is skilled in swordsmanship and often compares himself to Jiang Qi and Nai Zhang. He is courageous and resourceful. His name is Dai Quixai, and he currently serves as a Whooping Lang general, overseeing grain in the rear camp. If we send him, he will surely be able to go." Upon hearing this, Ma Xiumu immediately ordered his men to fetch him. At this time, Quixai was checking the grain in the rear camp. Seeing Ma Xiumu's invitation, he had no choice but to change into his official robes and enter the camp to pay his respects. When Ma Xiumu saw Dai Quixai, he was 8 feet tall with a waist 10 spans wide. His eyes shining brightly, and his face exuding a dignified air, a fine man indeed. He quickly stepped forward and said, "I have invited you here, General, for no other reason than to say that there is a hermit's tomb ahead, and a large cave has been unearthed. The cave is brightly lit, and I wonder what strange thing it holds. I have heard of your courage and skill. Would you be so kind as to venture into the cave and explore it? This would be the greatest achievement in opening the river." Dai Quixai replied, "Since you two esteemed gentlemen have ordered me to do this, I will certainly do my duty. But where is the cave?" Ma Xiumu and Ling Huda led Dai Quixai to the cave. After looking at it for a while, Dai Quixai said, "If I am to go down, I cannot be so refined." He then removed his official robes, changed into a tight-fitting suit of fine armor, and hung a sword at his waist. He ordered someone to fetch a rope several tens of feet long, with many large bells attached to it. He sat in a large bamboo basket and was lowered down. When Dai Quixai first looked down from above, he saw a brilliant light shining below, but upon descending it was dark again. After resting for a while, he opened his eyes and saw faint shadows. He stepped out of the basket and, taking advantage of the shadows, felt his way forward. After walking a dozen or so steps, it gradually became brighter than before. After walking another 40 or 50 steps, he suddenly came to a place. Looking up sharply, he saw that there was still sky and sun, but it was a completely different world. Dai Quixai, after witnessing this scene, couldn't help but sigh in amazement. People only know how to strive for fame and fortune in this world, clinging to the dust of the mortal realm. Who knows that there is another world within this deep cave? Truly, there are heavens beyond heavens, and the wonders of immortals are boundless. He had already let go of his desire for fame and fortune. He continued walking forward, turning past a section of stone wall, and suddenly saw a cave dwelling, surrounded by white stone, with a gatehouse in the middle and 2 stone lions standing outside the gate, just like the mansion of a king or nobleman. Regardless of the consequences, Dai Quixai went inside. Looking around, he saw no one, only a stone door to the south, tightly shut. Suddenly, he heard a creaking sound coming from a stone room to the east. Dai Quixai hurried closer and peeked through a window. He saw stone pillars in the 4 corners, with an iron chain binding a strange beast. The beast thrashed its hooves, hence the sound from outside. The beast had a pointed head and shifty eyes, short legs, and a stout body about the size of an ox, but it was neither a tiger nor a leopard. Dai Quixai stared at it for a long time, unable to recognize it. Suddenly, he thought for a moment, then looked again and realized it was a large rat. Dai Quixai exclaimed in surprise, "If a rat is this big, I wonder how big a cat is." Just as he was staring in disbelief, the 2 main doors to the south opened and a boy emerged. He was clear, bright eyebrows and beautiful eyes, slender white teeth and red lips. His hair was styled in 2 buns, giving him an ethereal air. His yellow robe exuded a Taoist aura. If it were not born of a wild crane, it must be made of white clouds. The boy saw him and asked, "General, are you perhaps Dai Quixai?" Dai Quixai was greatly surprised and said, "Indeed, how did you know, celestial boy?" The boy said, "Lord Huangfu has been waiting for you for a long time. Please come in quickly." Dai Quixai found this somewhat strange, but he had no choice but to follow the boy inside. He saw that the palace was magnificent and the halls were spacious, clearly not an ordinary place. As he approached the palace, he saw a nobleman sitting on the throne, dressed in a crimson robe with dragon coils, wearing an 8-treasure cloud crown, with tassels and jade pendants, looking every bit like a king. Many officials were lined up on both sides, and guards stood solemnly below the steps. When Dai Quixai reached the palace courtyard, he had no choice but to bow in respect. The nobleman asked, "Dai Quixai, have you arrived?" Dai Quixai replied, "Dai Quixai was ordered by the emperor to open the river, and was sent by Protector General Ma Xiumu to explore the caves. I did not expect to mistakenly enter a celestial abode, and I am truly guilty." The nobleman then said, "You think the Emperor Yang is so powerful. Stand aside, I'll show you something." He then said to a fierce-looking guard beside him, "Quickly go and bring that ammo over." Upon hearing this, the guard hurriedly grabbed a huge club and strode outside. After a short while, the sound of iron chains could be heard, and the guard brought a beast on a long chain. Dai Quixai looked closely and saw that it was the rat from the stone pillar outside. The guard led it into the courtyard, holding it by one hand. The rat squatted on the platform, raising its whiskers and gnawing its claws, looking quite pleased with itself. The nobleman, glaring angrily, slammed his wooden stick on the table and cried, "You beast! I have temporarily stripped you of your fur to be the ruler of this land. What crime have the common people committed to suffer your cruelty? What wrong have their bones done to be desecrated by you? Your debauchery and tyranny have reached this point. I will kill you to vent the anger of both men and ghosts." He ordered the warrior to strike him heavily on the head. The warrior rolled up his sleeves, raised his large stick, and struck the rat on the head. The rat, in unbearable pain, roared and howled like thunder. Just as the warrior was about to strike again, a boy descended from midair holding a celestial talisman. He quickly stopped the warrior, saying, "Do not strike," he said to Huangfu Jun. "God has commanded." Huangfu Jun hurriedly descended from the palace and prostrated himself on the ground. The boy then returned to the palace and read the celestial talisman. The fate of the Ammo Kingdom is already one cycle, not yet destined to perish. After 5 more years, a silk scarf can be tied around its neck and it can be executed to atone for its debauchery. For now, it will be spared the suffering of Chu. After reading it, the boy ascended into the sky and disappeared. Huangfu Jun returned to the palace and said, "Spare this beast. If it weren't for God's mercy, you would have been beaten to death. You still have 5 years to enjoy your blessings. If you don't repent, you will eventually suffer the consequences." He then ordered the guards to take him away and lock him up. The guards obeyed and led him away. Huangfu Jun asked Dai Quixai, "Can you see clearly?" Dai Quixai replied, "I am but a lowly mortal official. How could I possibly fathom the workings of the immortals?" Huangfu Jun said, "Just remember this, and it will naturally come true the day after tomorrow. This is the Hall of 9 Flowers. You could not have come here without a divine destiny." Dai Quixai hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed, saying, "I was on a mission but mistakenly entered the immortal realm. Now I am lost and confused, and I humbly beg for divine guidance." Huangfu Jun said, "Your future is promising, but you must clear your mind and reflect deeply, and not allow yourself to fall into depravity. Ma Xiumu, a petty man, has gained power and acted arrogantly. His crimes are unforgivable. Tell him to tell me. We are grateful for his attack on our capital, and having no way to repay him, we will present him with 2 golden swords next year." After saying this, he instructed a green-clad official, "You may lead him out." Under the weight of the official's authority, Dai Quixai dared not inquire further, bowed in gratitude, and left. The green-clad official led Dai Quixai away from the old path, turning past several large trees. After walking 100 or 2 paces, the official pointed and said, "The main road is in the woods ahead." When Dai Quixai hurriedly turned back to ask, the official had already vanished. Turning back again, even the cave had disappeared. Dai Quixai exclaimed in astonishment, "The wonders of the immortals are truly astounding." He had no choice but to hurry through the woods, turn over a hill, and follow the main road for another mile or two across fields. Suddenly, he saw several tall trees surrounding a village, and he rushed into the village to ask for directions. Seeing a house with its gate half open, he went inside, coughing softly a few times, which startled a pair of small spotted dogs who barked wildly at him. An old man emerged from within, and Dai Quixai hurriedly bowed, saying, "This humble official has lost his way. May I ask the old man for guidance?" The old man returned the bow, asking, "Why did you come here on foot, General?" Dai Quixai dared not conceal the truth and recounted his encounter with Huang Fu Jun in the cave and the incident of beating the rat with a stick. The old man listened and laughed. "So the current Emperor Yang is a rat in disguise. How strange. No wonder he is so dissolute." Dai Quixai then asked, "Where is this place? How far is it to Yongqiu?" The old man replied, "This is in the Shayashi Mountains of Songyang. Head east along the main road. It's only 2 li to Ningling County. There's no need to go to Yongqiu. I imagine Ma Xiumu will arrive sooner or later. If the general doesn't mind, I'll prepare a simple meal for you. It's not too late to go." He then invited Dai Quixai into the thatched cottage. The old man instructed an old servant to prepare a simple meal, then said to Dai Quixai, "From what I've seen, General, it seems that Emperor Yang's reign is nearing its end. Even Ma Xiumu's downfall is not far off. I see you have an extraordinary appearance and bearing. Why follow the crowd and associate with these tyrannical and cruel officials?" Dai Quixai humbly thanked him, saying, "Thank you for your guidance, sir. I am not unaware that opening the canal is an act of cruelty, but I regret my low rank and position and dare not disobey orders." The old man smiled and said, "An official must obey orders. Even an unofficial must not disobey orders, General." Dai Quixai said, "Your words are invaluable. Though I am unworthy, I will take them as gospel." Soon the old servant brought out the meal, and Dai Quixai ate his fill. He then rose to say goodbye and depart. The old man saw him off to the main road, saying, "Turn past that mountain bend ahead and you'll see the county seat." Dai Quixai thanked him, bowed, and took his leave. After walking a dozen steps, he looked back and saw that the old man was gone and there were no houses to be seen. On both sides were tall pines and strange rocks. Quixai was startled again, his mind reeling. He hurried to the county seat, and upon seeing the people of the city, he finally came to his senses. He entered the city and waited at the official residence. Ma Xiumu, believing that Dai Quixai had died in the cave because he couldn't find the entrance, urged the laborers to dig the river channel. 7 or 8 days had passed, and they were heading towards the border of Ningling County. Dai Quixai went to see Ma Xiumu and recounted in detail what he had seen and heard in the cave. Ma Xiumu refused to believe him, thinking that Dai Quixai possessed some kind of swordsmanship and had been hiding for these past few days, fabricating this false story to frighten him. Instead, he was rebuffed by Ma Xiumu. Dai Quixai had no choice but to retreat to his rear camp, thinking to himself, "I offered him honest advice, but he treated it as a joke. I am an upright man. Why should I associate with wolves and jackals to harm the people? The fate of the nation is limited. Why should I linger among treacherous officials, clinging to this worthless burden? I would rather feign madness and hide in the mountains, where I would find true freedom." Having made his decision, he submitted 2 medical certificates. Ma Xiumu, disgusted by his lies, approved the certificates and appointed another official to oversee the grain supply. Seeing that his certificates were approved, Dai Quixai packed his belongings, took 2 servants, and returned to his hometown. On his journey, he thought of how Huang Fu Jun called the giant rat Ammo, and he hesitated, thinking, how can the Emperor of China be a rat? If that were true, he should have had a headache and fever when he was beaten with a stick the other day. While one shouldn't completely disbelieve in ghosts and spirits, one shouldn't believe them entirely either. Why not pretend to go to Tokyo to inquire about this, and then I'll know the truth? So he secretly came to the capital to investigate. Indeed, to know the truth of the divine secrets, Whether real or illusory, one need not feign hardship and travel through the dust.